Daf Kufches, sponsored Lilu Nishmas, Esther Bas Tzvi Hirsch. The pasuk in Bamidbar Perek Hey, pasuk Zayin, says, "Visvadu es chatasam asher asu." When the thief admits to his crime, and he swore falsely, and he admits, the pasuk says, "V'heshiv es ashamo barosho." He returns the principal first, "V'chamishiso Yosef alav," and he adds a fifth to the principal. The Gemara earlier explained this verse as teaching, according to the Chachamim, that one pays the fifth only on the principal, but not if he pays kefil. The Gemara here wants to understand the basis for this Torah's exemption. Is it that both payments are not required for the same stolen item? Or is it that both payments are not required for one false oath? The difference would be where he claimed the deposit was stolen, swore, and then changed his claim that it was lost, and again swore. Witnesses testified that he swore falsely concerning the first claim, and he admitted to the second false claim. If the money is the factor, he would not be liable to the fifth, since both claims apply to the same stolen item. If the oath is the factor, then he should be exempt because he should have to pay, because he swore a second time. The Gemara proves it's the money. Take a regular case of theft, not concerning a custodian, where the thief himself swears and the witnesses come before his admission. He is liable to kefil and not the fifth. In this case, it is not the false oath that obligates the thief to pay kefil, it is his act of theft. Therefore, if the oath is the factor, he should be liable to the fifth as well, and yet the Brisa says that is not the case, proving that it is the money and not the oath that establishes this law, that the kefil and the fifth cannot be paid for the same stolen item. The Gemara asks two questions concerning this law of not paying both payments on one stolen item. Number one, let's say there were two custodians for one animal. Both claimed it was stolen and swore. One admitted and the other was contradicted by witnesses. Can they both pay when it is two people paying? The Gemara leaves this unanswered. The second question is, if one custodian claimed either that the item was stolen or lost, swore in one court, then did the same in a second court after being contradicted in the first court, so that the oath taken in the first court was nullified, and then witnesses contradicted him a second time in the second court. The halacha is that he's liable to pay kefil twice. Rava learns this from the verse that says, "V'chamishiso Yosef alav," for each false oath he pays an additional fifth. The same is true for kefil. The next inyan that the Gemara discusses is very interesting. You have a machlokas of Abai and Rava concerning a variation of a law in the first Mishnah in Perek HaMafkid in Bava Kama. The Mishnah there says, if the custodian waives his right to an oath and pays the principal to the owner for a stolen or lost item, if the thief is caught, the owner transfers the rights of the kefil to the custodian. However, the question is, if the custodian takes the oath first and then decides to pay, what is the din? Abaya holds, since the custodian troubled the owner to go to court for his oath, he doesn't transfer the kefil, even though he finally paid. Rava disagrees. He holds as long as the custodian pays, even after an oath, the owner transfers to him the rights to the kefil. The next inyan of the Gemara is a custodian who swore to the owner to exempt himself for theft. So technically speaking, he's out of the picture. And when the thief was found, the custodians actually sued, and the thief admitted it to the theft. Is he exempt from kefil or not? The Gemara answers, if the custodian swore truthfully that he could not have prevented the theft, he remains the owner's custodian and has a right to retrieve the stolen item. The thief's admission, therefore, is legally effective. However, if he testified falsely, he no longer enjoys the trust of the owner, and as such, his custodianship is terminated. The thief's admission is ineffective. The Gemara is not certain where he intended to swear falsely, but the owner stopped him from swearing. Now we have a similar case, but reversed. The custodian paid instead of swearing, and the thief admitted to the original owner instead of to the custodian. Can the custodian collect the kefil, or does the admission of the thief to the owner exempt him? We explained, in this case, the owner transfers the kefil to the custodian. However, this may not mean that the owner has no interest in this case. He can claim that he attempted to apprehend the thief to repay the custodian for paying, and therefore the admission to the owner would exempt him from paying kefil. The Gemara does not decide this question. If the alleged thief was identified before the custodians took their oaths, can they still swear, or must they attempt to retrieve the stolen item? Abaya distinguishes between a shomer chinam and a shomer sachar. Shomer sachar is required to sue the alleged thief and cannot exempt himself by way of an oath. Rava holds both are required to attempt to sue. The Rishonim argue whether this argument includes the custodian paying the owner as well and then retrieving his money from the thief. The Gemara does not decide a case where the stolen item was returned to the custodian and then died due to his negligence. According to Abaya, a shomer sachar would clearly be obligated. However, Rabba Zuti would hold his obligations to the owner end when the thief is caught or when he swears. The only question is, when the animal is returned to him, is he reinstated as a custodian or not?